is Andy Purewal for ID Boxing. I'm joined by Skye Nicolson here in New York. Skye, always a pleasure to see you. How are you?
Hello, Andy. I haven't seen you for a while.
It's been a minute. How's things going?
Really, really good. Always good. I always feel good in fight week. Really excited. Just want to get in there. Not long now. A couple more sleeps. I'm excited.
One of the most active fighters I've seen last year. Talk to me about and just reflect on your 2022 for me, Skye. How would you look back on it all?
I feel like it was a really successful first year. I'm still in my first year, actually. This sixth fight will be my sixth fight in my first year. Lots of learning, lots of adjusting, adapting, travelling, but yeah, an amazing first year. I got to box in the US twice, the UK twice, a fight back home in Australia, all different styles of opponents, southpaws, orthodoxes, and another new style opponent for this Saturday night.
Before we do move forward, just emphasising all the different places you got to box in, Skye, did Eddie deliver more so on what he'd promised in terms of getting you across all these places?
I mean, that was 100% always the plan. And probably my biggest driving force was signing with Matchroom, rather than some of the other promoters that I could have signed with, was the ability to be able to box all around the world. So for me, the plan was always to box in the US, box in the UK, box in Australia, so Matchroom definitely delivered on that.
Just looking at your career so far, we haven't seen you stop an opponent so far, Skye. Is that something which is playing on your mind at all?
I don't put too much pressure on it. I think it's going to come naturally, but I do feel the pressure to get those stoppages. I also do know they happen a lot less often in female boxing. I'm not cherry picking opponents that have very negative boxing records and things like that either. So I feel like if I was desperate for a stoppage, I could easily fight someone that I could get that stoppage, but that's not what I'm about. I think I'm hitting pretty hard. The girls have been telling me in sparring I've been hitting pretty hard. So the power is there, and I think it's going to come. It'll come.
Unfortunately, in all walks of life, you'll always have critics, Skye, no matter what it is. What do you make of anybody who has been critical of any of your performances where they may have felt you could have put your foot on the gas a little bit more?
I took it quite personally at first because obviously I wasn't used to being so publicly critiqued. Obviously, I had 150 amateur fights, but how many people actually saw those fights or publicly commented on what they thought of them? It was quite minuscule. So it was quite a new experience for me going on and reading comments. I don't do it as much now, but also I take it all with a grain of salt. And my team's been quite supportive of kind of just not putting that pressure on me and not to listen to outside noise. So yeah, I've learnt over this past year to block out the outside noise a little bit.
Looking at that outside noise and moving on to Saturday night, Tania Alvarez or Tania, what do you know about her?
I know she's young, she's hungry, she's aggressive. She's quite an all-action fighter. She likes to be in the close range, sit in the pocket and let her hands go. So I'm excited for Saturday night. I haven't really come across an opponent like that yet as a professional, so I feel like I'll be able to showcase new and different things that we haven't seen in my first 5 fights. So I think it's going to be a very exciting fight.
I've seen your tweets that your ambitions this year are very much to push towards world honours, Skye. Do you have a time frame in mind as to when you feel like that could be achievable?
I mean, it does depend what happens with the belts over the next 6 months, but at the moment my focus is on moving up in the rankings and getting myself to eventually be in a mandatory position so that I can fight for a world title in my next few fights.
What are your plans in terms of activity this year? Sort of 5 fights last year, similar this year? Or?
Yeah, so the plan was always 6 fights in the first 12 months, 4 fights in the second. So for me, we were looking to have quite a busy first half of this year. We were going to go quite back-to-back again like we did last year and box again in March, but that's now looking like it's going to be pushed to April just due to the cards being quite busy. So the next one will probably be April, and then obviously if the Taylor Serrano rematch happens, I'd really love to be on that undercard. So maybe 3 fights in the first half of this year and 2 fights in the second half, but we'll see.
I'm sure you'll be keeping an eye on that, and obviously Amanda Serrano holds the belt in your division. Is that a fight for you which really whets your appetite?
Definitely. I love that fight. We'll see what happens on Saturday night. She's got them all on the line on Saturday night, so I'll be sitting watching that one quite eagerly. But I really fancy the fight with Serrano. I know a lot of critiques out there say otherwise and that I'm not ready for Serrano, but I love that fight and I feel very confident.
How do you think you would fare? I've just seen your confidence come through there, Skye, with your answer. How do you feel you would fare against her? How do you think you'd have to box to beat her?
I think Serrano is very dangerous with an opponent that stands in front of her and wants to trade with her. 2 things I'm not going to do. I don't care how boring people think I am. I'm going to win that fight exactly how I have to win that fight, and that's to box and move. I would not get involved in anything. I'm fit. I can box and move 10 rounds, and I think I'll box rings around her.
What do you make of a fight on the weekend with Alycia Cruz?
I'm excited to see this fight. Obviously, it's Southpaw versus Southpaw, which is good for me to kind of have a look at. Obviously, Alycia Cruz and my style aren't all that similar, but I do want to see her fight against a Southpaw. I think Alycia might be more of a challenge than people think because she does move quite a lot as well. But I think she could likely get dragged into a Serrano fight, so we'll see.
And just final one, Skye, I saw you training with Alycia Baumgardner out in Detroit. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really good. Really good vibes. A really nice way to finish up camp. Obviously, going out to Detroit, training with world champions, and I really loved the experience. We did some sparring together as well, which was awesome. Got some really good spars in and just, enjoyed the experience. Got used to the time zone, so I was out here a bit earlier as well. And it was an all-round positive experience.
I've heard very positive feedback in terms of Alycia Baumgardner sparring, and the power she possesses certainly seems to be showing through. Did you feel that?
Yeah, 100%. She's ready. She's so ready for Saturday night. She's in for a tough fight, but I feel very confident that she's going to come out on top.
Right, Skye, we'll leave that there now because I know you've done a number of interviews, so thanks for speaking to me and ID Boxing.
Thank you. See ya.